haven't seen that. I haven't. Yeah. I'll have to go watch the replay this afternoon or tonight, this evening. You know, we are just seeing time and time again the way that this current administration is showing a lack of leadership when it comes to holding those accountable that need to be held accountable, and taking real serious note about what you're talking about, what's happening in this country, the realities of what things like that are costing you and I in our everyday lives. I mean, it's just one unbelievable notion after another, and this is why we're all appalled and worked up and ready to see real change in November. The very thing that you just said, and again, I'm interested to know a little bit more about his comments as it relates to that, but this is craziness. Is this the America that you and I know and love? I would suggest not, and I would suggest that we are being led down a path that I don't believe any of us in this room want to see us go. You and then, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Warren.
How do you feel about term limits?
I see both sides of the argument. I will say this. I believe that our forefathers, when they required the House that represents the people to be elected every 2 years, may have done so, even though there's some historical significance with travel and all that, I understand, that being the House that represents the people, that we would be given the opportunity to vote people out every 2 years. I also listen to people talk about, and as I have over the past year, about those that are career politicians that stay in office that nobody can vote out, and I see that as a problem. But I also know that there's some good guys up there too that work very hard, that have a servant's heart, that fight very diligently, and that you and I share common conservative values with. So I'm willing to listen to arguments on both sides, as I have, and we'll continue to have that discussion. What I have said as it relates to my public service on the Montgomery City Council, and this is an important thing. I mean, the day you start making decisions based on whether or not you're going to get reelected is the day you've got to go. And not everybody has the ability or to recognize that. But that is what I would like for you to hold me accountable to if I'm given the opportunity to represent you. That the decisions that in what I'm doing to fight for you in Washington is based on what's right and not getting reelected.
See, my problem is too many politicians use our tax dollars to get reelected just so that they could get more of our tax dollars. We've got politicians like that.
You're right.
We know of several who should have been out 40 years ago. Some of them have been in there long.
Well,
around 40 years. They should have been out.
Yes, sir.
A long time ago.
And I'll say this. I mean, the climate in this country right now is a real testament to the fact that people are waking up and saying, hold on just a minute, we're not going to take this anymore. But then I also am very disappointed on election day when there's 38% voter turnout, or even less than that. So we have a responsibility, a real responsibility to make sure that we are exercising our right to remove these people from office when the time comes. And I think this November, there will be a clear message sent. I do. Yes, ma'am.
Term limits are our responsibility as voters. What I wanted to say is Martha said something that is very important to all of us, and it bears repeating. She said, I will go, and first of all, I will not vote for that legislation. But secondly, I will fight against it. That was terribly important, because that's what we're missing right now, is someone to fight against it.
I agree with you. That's why, I say it as many opportunities as I have. I mean, it's just not enough right now to raise your hand in opposition to it. I want to know that the person representing my interests is doing everything they can. Yes, sir.
Pertaining to what Brother Robert Burke just said about spending money, what's happening here with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, where Obama plans in October, I understand, to spend billions of dollars paying off these loans on these low houses where he'll be able to get their vote.
Right.
Use it and get elected.
That's right.
Well, my understanding is in this Finance Regulatory Act that it does absolutely nothing to change the way that those two entities are handled, which is absolutely ludicrous in light of where we are right now and what our economy looks like because of what happened in the past. But the act does nothing to address those problems. So we are seeing in Congress and with President Obama time and time again their agenda being pushed for their own purposes and not for the people of the United States. And you're right, there's plenty of that going on. But when it comes to the finance reform package, there is nothing in that does anything to reform Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
But he's going to do it in October to plan all the voters to him.
Yeah, and I'm just going to have to go and read more about what his plan is, because based on what was said on the news today, I'm not familiar with exactly what the president has gone on the record and saying. So again, that's what's so great about these type forums, because now I can, and I appreciate us having that conversation.
Well, it's just insulting to people who spent 20 or 30 years paying for their house.
Right, now we're just going to
The
forgive
right
those.
way.
Right. Now we're going to forgive those
It's just not right.
who shouldn't have necessarily qualified.
Absolutely, they shouldn't have qualified for
We
those
wind up
loans
paying
in the
for
first
somebody
place.
else's house too.
And it's an entitlement mentality
It is.
that we have all throughout.
And that's his master plan. Entitlements across the board.
Right. Right. Yes, sir.
A couple questions, if that's okay. Our President Obama, when he spoke in front of Congress, said that malpractice lawsuits could possibly be driving up the cost of health care. I mean, I think we all know that's a gross understatement. How important is malpractice reform to you? And we hopefully do get to
It's vitally important. If you walk in any physician's office and ask them that exact same question, I would be willing to bank on the fact that the answer that you're going to get is, I have to practice defensive medicine because of the lack of medical liability reform. That drives up the cost of health care tremendously. It's not whether or not this test is necessary. It's if I don't do this test, I'm going to get sued and I'm not going to be able to practice medicine anymore anyway. You talk to any physician and you will get that same answer. So it's vitally important. It is driving up the cost of health care astronomically, and it is nowhere in that health care bill is that issue addressed. Go ahead, do you have more questions?
Yes, ma'am. I was at the Silicon Tomato Festival a few weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to talk to Congressman Bright.
Please tell us what he said.
I asked him about vote number 1, Nancy Pelosi, and he did say something that shocked me. You know, he said it's just a ceremonial position; she doesn't have any real power.
Good.
Woman has more staff than everyone
What a
else. She has
lie.
private jets, paying more. What's your response to that? Why do you vote for her?
I just think that if our congressman doesn't understand that your very first vote in Congress is the most important vote, if he doesn't understand, that alone is reason to vote for Martha Roby and Yes, ma'am. Oh, do you have any more questions?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Ma,
Yes, ma'am.
in my circle, where my everyday living is involved, every person I talk to is depressed when they get up in the mornings. We don't have, nothing's going right, everything's going wrong, and we don't see anything being done to stop it. It's like a train wreck happening, and nobody's trying to stop it. It's just